This is Toronto, the largest city in Canada with around 6 million people in its larger urban area. This is Houston, a slightly larger city with around 7 million people in its metro area. The two cities are remarkably comparable in terms of population, economy, and transport infrastructure. Yet, Toronto, with its huge skyline and extensive recent urban development, seems to be punching way above Houston. Why is that? Canadian cities tend to have way higher density than most American cities. In fact, while America was on its race to suburban development around the automobile, Canada did a lot of public housing and condominium development throughout the 70s and 80s until today. That's why you can see cities like Vancouver, Calgary, or Montreal and Toronto, which are super dense and compact as compared to cities the same size in the USA. When looking on data, you can clearly see that way more people are on average living in a flat in Canada than in the USA. Those facts might explain why Canadian cities tend to look quite larger than American cities the same size. The core areas of Canadian cities are much healthier than those in the United States. In many US cities, residents have moved to the suburbs to avoid crime, high taxes, and other inner city problems. This has created what some observers refer to as donut cities, with poor central core areas that have no industry, no job opportunities, poor schools, deteriorated housing, and no tax base to help improve things. This is basically the situation of a city like Detroit, where you got a really poor and destroyed central core area and pretty rich suburbs all around the city. Here the suburbs have also taken the place of the downtown as the main popular place to go out and have some nice dinner or something instead of the downtown. In contrary, Canadian core areas are strengthful. They all have a great socio-economic mixity, with rich people living there and contributing to the tax, which makes lower income people enjoy higher public service quality than in most American cities. This high quality urban environment is the leading factor for the lower crime and almost inexistent murder rate in Canadian cities. People tend to be using way more the public transit in Canadian cities than American cities, though both are way behind European cities in terms of public transit use. In fact, while America decided to build freeways throughout all of its cities, Canada decided to keep most of its urban environment and to rather build public transit or bus networks. As a result, American cities are way more splitted by highways and freeways cutting through cities in all directions than Canadian cities. Calgary and Vancouver, for instance, almost have no highways cutting through them. The transport factor is actually pretty important to understand why Canadian cities are mostly succeeding and American cities are not obviously succeeding in the most part. Old American neighborhoods like Greektown, Chinatowns and Little Italy's have mostly been destroyed. and replaced by huge amounts of highways. In Canada, those old urban ecosystems have actually been kept and formed today super vibrant small neighborhoods. Racial tensions has been far less pronounced in Canada than in the United States, where it has led to many problems including urban riots and white flight to the suburbs. Studies show when an American neighborhood reaches 7% black residents, it unfortunately induces white flight. This has led American cities to really stay way more segregated than Canadian cities. In fact, like each social or ethnicity group in an American city has its own neighborhood in the most cases. While in Canada, usually there is a great mixity between socioeconomics and different ethnicities inside cities. They are all sharing the same neighborhoods. This is of course a really unhealthy status for American cities and has led to many urban problems, like the pretty bad public service quality that you often find in a lot of US cities. Canadian and US public housing policies have been very different, with a few exceptions such as Toronto's Regent Park and Montreal's John Munt's. Governments in Canada has not built large-scale high-rise developments. Public housing in Canada has taken the form of small infill projects in established neighborhoods. There are small housing developments typically consisting of small apartment buildings or row housing. Canada has not faced the problem of large numbers of economically disadvantaged people crowded into an area, as we've already seen in the racial tensions section. While in American cities, we often have a huge concentration of lower income people in very concise and precise neighborhoods, which is a really unhealthy status, as we've already seen. Hey guys, I hope that you got a better understanding of why maybe some Canadian cities tend to look like punching higher than American cities the same size, and hope that you learned something and had a good time. Tell me in the comment if you have any suggestion or anything you want me to talk about, or if you have any information you want to add. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon.